Welcome back into the film room, guys. I'm your host, Erik Turner. We are having a special edition, obviously. This film room is going to be live. And, of course, talking quarterbacks, we're talking Bills. Got to bring in my boy, Nate Geary from WGR. What's going on, brother?
Nothing much, man. I feel like this week it feels like it's already Thursday, Friday, because the Sunday night game, these night games are weird. They kind of mess with my schedule, but it feels like I've had 3 or 4 full days of trash talking happening in my feed and a lot of receipt writing.
Yeah.
Hey, I the receipts are out there. You might as well bring them out and use them. That's what I say. But I think it feels a little victory lap season because listen, we got to 9 wins last year, and so far it feels like it's going to be a very different final quarter of the season than it was last year. So far, right? I mean, through one game, but
no
they passed the hardest test to date. We kept talking about how this team was going to face significantly tougher tests down the stretch. And we know they didn't exactly respond well in the middle part of the season, but Leslie Frazier talked about it. Brian Dable talked about it, particularly Leslie Frazier, about the defense sort of coming into their own and playing their best football going into January rather than playing their best football. And he said something that I think really resonates. They don't want to be plateauing in October. They want to be plateauing in December and in January when they're playing their best ball. And I think offensively, defensively, even special teams, all 3 phases of the game right now are really all clicking. And it's why you've got people like Colin Cowherd saying the Bills are right there as one of the best teams. And listen, I may not agree that they're the number 1 team, best team in the league. Find me 2 better teams than the Bills. I think you're going to have a hard time doing that.
Yeah,
it's fun. That's fun, man.
It's fun. It's kind of surreal. We don't really know how to handle ourselves. I'm with Aaron Quinn. He says, the Bills fans and Bills Twitter and everyone that's a Bills fan has been dealing with being, one of the worst teams in the league, one of the worst run organizations in the league for the last, several years. I mean, you could probably say 10, 20 years. So it's a little uneasy. So I'm with you, all those receipts and everyone's looking up those receipts and wanting to call out those people. Have at it. I'm not that guy, but I'll retweet some of those. No doubt about it.
And I'll chuckle.
Yeah, exactly. So by all means, do the work for us because, as Bills fans, we've earned it now. And so, it's been fun and this film breakdown is going to be fun. I want to talk about something, Nate, that we kind of lead shows off with every week. There's always a theme to a game, and in this week was really one of those, as you talked about, kind of a 3-phase game. But if we look at just the offense, I feel like you've heard us say, okay, this game was a building block as far as running the ball. Okay, this game was a building block and how to beat zone coverage, how to beat man coverage, all these narratives. Third quarter, we talked about all these narratives and themes each week and how the Bills had excelled in that area specifically for that game. I feel like this game, outside of the first quarter, which was really boring, by the way, but it was one of those heavyweight fights where they were just slugging back and forth, kind of feeling each other out. I feel like this game, the Bills offense and the Bills staff put together such a good game plan and a set of adjustments that we got to see all of those building blocks we talked about separately from game to game during the year. We got to see them in action in one game.
Yeah, and instead of talking about the second half adjustments, we're talking about the second quarter adjustments.
Yes.
Brian Dable after the game's talking about drive-to-drive adjustments, and you really start to get a good picture and a good view of just how sudden things, your plan can change going into a football game. And sure, you have your scripted 10 plays to start a game, but, as coaches around the league, how many times they get through those 10 plays without things changing up? I mean, things can end up changing on the fly based on personnel availability or based on exactly what the defense is doing. So, and in this week, I thought, listen, the Bills played a top tier defense. One that was certainly missing a few key pieces, no doubt about it. But that's one of those kinds of defense that, listen, TJ Watt is a defensive player of the year nominee. He's probably going to win it. And I thought the Bills did a great job neutralizing him in the second half. But listen, that's a hard defensive line to neutralize.
Yes.
And they proved that early on in the game. And I think it's why you saw a lot of just jabbing and seeing sort of who was going to flinch first, who was going to make the first opening. And it sort of felt like there was a little nip and tuck. And obviously, crazy enough, I don't want to say crazy enough, but interestingly enough, it was the Bills' defense that made the play in this game to really turn the tide, that landed that first big blow.
Spark the whole game.
The Bills didn't look back.
No, and I'm glad you mentioned that because it was complementary football. As you said, not just three phases, but the offense and defense really complemented each other well. And the defense really held the game close to the Bills offense because of the plays they were making on Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers defense. I'm glad you mentioned, the game plan and the adjustments because early on, and it's something I talked about leading into the game, the Washington football team wanted to attack and attacked the Steelers defense with empty sets. They got the running backs involved. They got those slot options, got those crossing routes going the prior week leading into the Buffalo game. So that was, for me, I'm like, wow, this is jumping out on film. Why not attack it, especially with the depth that and backup players that they had at the linebacker level? Why not attack the field with empty sets? So the Bills did come out with that plan. They came out, spread them out, ran a lot of empty in that first half. But as you said, the pressure started getting to Josh Allen, and they were running those quick passes, those 0-1 step drops from shotgun. But the pressure was in his face because Cam Hayward was just blowing guys up, specifically Ike Bacher up the middle. Even Mitch Morris got in on that action. But it was tough for the Bills to run empty, as well as the Washington football team did the prior week, mainly because when you do that, obviously you have 5 offensive linemen to account for the 4 or 5 rushers that the Steelers may send. Well, how the heck are you accounting for TJ Watt and Cam Hayward? They were worried, obviously, about those two, and rightfully so, because those guys started, obviously blowing some things up early. And let's talk about Darrell Williams real quick, because I thought he did a phenomenal job against TJ Watt. Now, they did give him some help, don't get me wrong, but I thought Darrell Williams, his hands and what he was doing against TJ Watt, he was basically any inside move that Watt wanted to go to, whether he went speed to power back inside to the interior gap, Williams was just locking him up. So TJ Watt was really resigned to just rushing out wide with his speed rush.
And you're winning. That's a win for the Bills.
And that's a win.
Josh is not the kind of guy that's taking those super, super deep drops unless he knows he's getting blitzed and he's trying to buy some time. So he's not a guy that's dropping super deep. That's a win if you're Darrell Williams. You push him to the outside, you force him around. That leaves the most vulnerable spot to a defense right now against Josh Allen, which is Allen rolling out to his right. So you want to give Josh Allen a lane to bail out of the pocket right and get outside of the structure of the offense, be my guess.
Yeah, especially because
they played right into the Bills' strength.
Yeah, especially because if he's rushing out wide, that's when those chips from the running backs and tight ends, those chip releases can really, help out Darrell Williams. So, anytime TJ Watt saw that chip or from the tight end or running back, what was he doing? He was cutting back inside right into the hands of Darrell Williams. Darrell Williams only had to play the inside half of TJ Watt. So his half-man relationship was really kept because of those chips coming off the edge and TJ Watt having to change his line to the quarterback. So I thought that wasn't just an adjustment. I think that was something that obviously the Bills had planned from the get-go, but they got better and better as the game went on, and those guys got more tired, and it allowed Brian Daboll and the offensive line and offense all together to then slide the offensive line to Cam Hayward when he started blowing up the guys on the left side line. And so I thought it was good balance as far as the offensive line goes. But let's take a look at not only the passing distribution of Josh Allen, but when he was under pressure and when he was blitzed, because the Steelers are one of the top teams in both of those categories. They're number one as the blitzers for defense. They rush. I think they rush an extra guy 39% of the time. That's number one in the NFL. As a defense, they are number one in pressure rate, which is 41% of the time. So they can get pressure whether they're blitzing or not. And I thought that Josh Allen struggled when he was under pressure in this game, and especially in the first half, right, Nate? It's something like we talked about on Twitter, and I admitted prior to going live that, I probably got let the emotions of the game get the best of me. I kind of overreacted to putting most of the blame on Josh Allen, when really, when you watch it from the All-22 and not the broadcast, which is why it's so necessary to do, you saw drops from the receivers. You saw bad routes or indecision in routes by a receiver. You saw bad blocking. You saw guys blowing blocks. And that's why, when Josh Allen was asked about those adjustments in the postgame presser, you heard him say, Daboll just said at halftime, everyone just needs to do their job. it's not just one guy. It's not just Josh Allen. It's not just the receivers. It's not just the offensive line. It's a little bit of everybody just needing to do their jobs. And when obviously they made those adjustments late in the second quarter, something we will talk about and we'll see on film, then Josh started getting in rhythm. Then the offense started getting in rhythm, and they figured out the formula they needed. But if you look at some of these stats from Pro Football Focus, he was not good while under pressure. He only had 66 yards on 6 completions at 3.3 yards per attempt and 1 interception when he was under pressure. And he was under pressure, I think top 5 in the league for the week at like 48 or 49% of the time. But he was blitzed 26 out of 46 dropbacks. So they, again, brought that pressure. He did manage to get off 131 yards against the blitz and 1 touchdown. But I want your thoughts on Josh Allen versus pressure, because again, it's something that we're going to see from certain teams. And honestly, I didn't expect this much pressure. I expected them to pressure because that's their identity, but I didn't expect this much pressure given Joe Hayden being out, all the guys at the second level being out, and just the type of defense and offense that the Bills are running.
Yeah, I was actually, I would agree with you that I was surprised to see as much pressure looks, and knowing over the course of the year how Allen has responded and what his numbers have been historically this season.
Yeah, pretty good.
Pretty darn good against the blitz and against pressure. This was the kind of game, though, where they definitely threw a lot of things at him pre-snap that I think maybe, especially early on, Josh wasn't ready for. And I think also we talk about, and it's a cliche, I get it, but this is a McDermottism, and it's the 111th, right? Doing your 111th. And I think there was a lot of guys, if you have 2 or 3 guys that aren't getting the job done, that puts a kink in the entire armor of the sort of process that this team sort of focuses on, right? So if you have, if you have a guy that isn't running the right routes, or you have an offensive lineman that's losing their one-on-one, or if you have 2 offensive linemen losing their one-on-one battles, it makes everyone else's job harder. So I think early on in that game, it also looked like, really from the first throw, I thought it was going to be a long afternoon, a long evening for Josh.
Talk about that, please.
It's one of those things. He talks about it all the time. It's sort of like in golf too. You can kind of tell how your round's going to go based on your first drive. If you pipe one down the center of the fairway, you're feeling pretty good about the rest of your round. But if you duck hook left out of bounds, and you're dropping 4, then you're not feeling pretty good about the rest of your round. So I thought his first few throws, I thought almost just about every throw he had in the first quarter and a half looked like he was second guessing himself mentally, which sort of came out in the way that he was throwing the football. Right. It was fluttering. The balls were high. He wasn't throwing good spirals. And in the second half, it was almost right from the first throw of the second half. I mean, he comes out of halftime going 12 of 12. And the ball was spinning. He was getting his mechanics in a row. And, as much as I thought it was funny how Collinsworth and Tariqa were sort of going through those throwing mechanics, and they were showing the technology. And every time they tried to go to Josh, he was kind of like,
he didn't help him. He didn't help him. Yeah.
That one isn't exactly what Palmer was talking about. But it's funny, though, because I think that they were onto something. I think a lot of those throws in the first half, he just wasn't in sync. Second half, you started to see the hip firing first. You started to see some of those mechanics. His mechanics are really based around confidence. And he's not alone in that. There's a lot of other quarterbacks that sort of break their fundamental when they lack confidence. The first guy I'm thinking of right now is Carson Wentz. And he feels like a broken quarterback because he doesn't have that confidence. Josh has it in troves. So when he's playing with that confidence, you see it in his development, you see it in his processing, but you also see it when the ball's coming off of his hand. And you're going to see those tight spirals. He's spinning the ball. He's got velocity. He's hitting guys on the numbers and the face mask. Like at those first 5-10 throws, it felt like, oh man, we're going to be in for one of those nights, and this is going to get ugly on prime time. That's how I felt after the first.
Totally. And that's why I reacted the way I did, because he did seem like he was off. Now, of course, the pressure had something to do with it. And of course, as I mentioned, you can't see it from the broadcast angle, but if you turn on like the first pass to Beasley out of empty, Beasley he was kind of indecisive in his option route. And Josh read it differently, read his body language differently, and he threw it to a different spot than Beasley really wanted to go. I think Beasley wanted to continue across the middle, but realized it was too late of a physical read of his body language, and the pass was incomplete. And from there, I'm like, oh God, this is not going to be good. But as you know, as Cameron is saying, in our chat. I mean, it's one of those things where he turned it around, man. And that's one of those ebb and flows of the game and of his season, man. Now he's able to pick himself up out of the gutter per se when he does start off rough, because obviously Dable wants to get him going early and often. And if you look at some of those routes, there were a lot of vertical routes from empty sets and whatnot, and they were still trying to push the ball down the field, but they just didn't have the time to do it. So if you watch some of those routes when we start to break them down, look at the depth of target on these. The guys are going verticals down the field, and so I do think that had something to do with it and why there was pressure in his face a lot. And I mean, but the adjustments by the staff, the adjustments by Josh Allen, I mean, it really started to click that last drive right before half. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, that really set the tone for, I thought, the second half. And also telling, Erik, after that pick six, Big Ben and that offense decided with 2 timeouts, let's get this to halftime. Let's not that said a lot to me. That was a big indicator of how the second half I thought was going to go. But Erik, it's tough because this is our quarterback film breakdown, and it's hard for me not to marvel at the job that Leslie Frazier and Sean McDermott have done with this defense over the last 3 games. I was looking at some numbers, and the Bills defense is over the last 3 games giving 18 points per game, 18.8 points per game, which would rank just behind Pittsburgh for a season average. They're the only team with a lower point per game total over the course of a season over the last 3 games. They've also given up 68.8 yards on the ground average over the last 3 games. That is first in the league by 20 yards. So the Bills really have the narrative. It's I talked to I forget who it was, somebody from Niners Nation, and JP Show on Twitter. He asked me, how can the Niners take advantage of this leaky Bills run defense? And I said, it's leaky, but it's not leaky when they don't want it to be. And I think the same can be said about the offense. I just think from a complete performance perspective, you just don't get better offense defensively. But I just wanted to before we really started the breakdown, really give kudos to Leslie Frazier, who Kim Pagul is 100% right, absolutely deserves another opportunity to be a head coach in this football league. And I would hate to lose Leslie Frazier as a assistant head coach and defensive coordinator, but my God, the man has deserved a second chance in the league, and it's past time that Leslie Frazier is a head coach again someplace.
No doubt about it, man. I agree. Those are some great stats, and I mean, it was a complimentary game by the defense. They held them in the first half and really shut them down. Obviously, the big spark by Taron Johnson, a guy who was highly criticized for most of this season, really stepped it up. Picking off Roethlisberger there, really kind of playing outside of the scheme and assignment there, and just really trusting his instincts there. So it was good to see him come back and bounce back. It was good to see Levi Wallace bounce back with a ridiculous interception, some plays on the ball, which is something he's not really known for. But what we're going to break down tonight is Josh Allen versus the Steelers. So guys, settle in, grab your beer, grab your coffee. We got a bunch of plays to break down tonight. We're doing this for you live. We appreciate you tuning in. Make sure to share it on social media so your friends could join in and interact with us. And so as we go along, if you have any questions, shoot them in the chat box. We'll try to answer them as we go. So first play that we're going to break down is a 39 situation, top of the first quarter. Now, this was a play where, Josh Allen really, as I said, they're trying to push the ball down the field. I want you to pay attention to the coverage that the Steelers are playing. Watch those 2 safeties that I highlighted, because this is a coverage that Josh saw 4 or 5 times in this game, and he really didn't have success. And it's something we're going to start to see a little more, because on this play, you're going to see both of those safeties bracket Cole Beasley and Stefon Diggs. So to the bottom of the screen right here, this guy is watching any in-breaking route by Beasley. To the top of the screen, Edmonds is playing really low, and I think this is why Josh does throw it to him. He's playing really low, and Steph still is able to get past both of those guys on that bracket coverage, but Josh misses this throw. And my issue with this throw, Nate, is the fact that not only it kind of sailed right there, but Josh is late. My issue is with Josh Allen not throwing it to Gabriel Davis, where we've seen this play late from John Brown in the Rams game, the Seahawks game, where he runs down the field, runs a comeback route, separates. Josh is reading the entire field, ends up coming back to Davis on the bottom. For some reason, he looks there and doesn't throw it, ends up throwing basically like a Hail Mary, but it's an alert. It's an alert pass to Stefon Diggs. I get why he threw it, but my issue is Gabriel Davis is one-on-one. They're bracketing your two best players. Throw it to him. And that's my issue with this play, because you see him look right there. He looks right to Gabriel Davis. Why doesn't he throw it? I don't know. Maybe it's a trust thing. Maybe it's because Gabriel Davis, is leading the team in drop percentage at 12.5, whereas John Brown and Stefon Diggs are 6.5 each of them. So what are your thoughts on this play, man? Again, I think this was an alert call where, if they get this look, we're going to throw it deep to Diggs. But what's your thoughts on this decision from Josh?
Yeah, the bracket coverage is something they're going to see more and more. And if you look like especially with the leverage of that slot corner that's on Beasley right now, he basically invites Beasley into the safety, which makes it really hard for a guy like Beasley, who's not particularly physical, to come back outside. So the decision, this is really smart defense, because what it does is it forces Cole Beasley into a decision they know they have covered. So that makes this coverage difficult. The problem is, can you do it? Can you do it consistently when you're going to have one-on-one matchup? And when you have John Brown in the lineup, I'm not sure that this is a plausible defense you can run in succession and over against, give those same looks against this Bills team, because when John Brown is healthy and in the fold, you're not going to have too many guys that you're going to be wanting to go one-on-one with him. And then when Gabe Davis can kind of come into play and you have four wide receivers, it becomes more difficult. But in these sets, when they were running it, you're right. I mean, it's a very difficult, because here's the other thing too. They've got two athletic players both spying Josh Allen on this play. So Josh is not really going to have the opportunity to tuck this down and run. He's got a defensive back / linebacker, right? I mean, he was a former safety, I think, that came down and played linebacker in this game because they had so many injuries. Right. That makes it a tough matchup if you're Josh Allen. So for me, you're spot on. Like, he's got to hit that throw with timing, with anticipation. Once Gabe Davis makes his break to the sidelines, that's a catch, two tap, walks out of bounds, 1st and 10. Let's roll. So I agree, but I also agree with his decision-making and understanding. I mean, listen, it's Stefon Diggs. Give me that every time. Yeah. If he crosses the face of the defender, let it rip. The problem becomes the longer you wait. And Josh Allen has the arm, don't get me wrong. Sure. But it becomes, your margin for error becomes smaller and smaller and smaller the longer and longer you wait. That's why it's trained on a lot of those fades and 9 routes. You want to make sure you're throwing it with timing, with anticipation, so that the ball is being caught at 40 yards and not 65. It's really, really difficult to be accurate. I don't care who you are, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. The longer you wait on that deep route, the harder and harder it is to drop it in the bucket, because a lot of those bucket throws really do depend on that timing and that anticipation. And you don't get that when you're heaving it up 65 yards in the air. So he can do it. It's just a high margin, there's a low margin of error on the play like that.
No, Jason, you make a great point. It's 3rd down and long. It could be just a punt if it's intercepted, but again, the decision, it's maybe not the decision that's the issue. It's when he's throwing it, as Nate said. He should be throwing it right now. You have, again, a low safety, and Edmonds is a freak athlete. Not the best player, but a freak athlete. And Diggs is already by both of those guys. The ball should be coming out now, and he throws it late, and it goes incomplete. So, again, guys, it's the first drive. That goes incomplete. I get it. Keep an eye on that coverage. We're going to break it down again later in the game. So, on to the next play. It's a 1st and 10 situation. We're in the first quarter still. You see the Bills empty out the backfield and motion Singletary to the top of the screen. And they set up, basically, again, this is, first quarter. The Bills are trying to push the ball down the field. They're trying to spread the defense out. And here you're seeing basically what the Bills are trying to do. They're trying to attack the middle of the field with these two little option routes, right, between Cole Beasley and I think that's Diggs to the bottom of the screen. The Steelers play cover 3, and I just think Josh Allen kind of stares Beasley down to the top of the screen. That guy, he's not going to be open at all, and he kind of misses Diggs in the slot to the bottom as they drop out, again, into that cover 3. So here's your safety, here's your 2 corners deep, and then you got the 4 guys underneath. You see Diggs right here kind of find a little void right here in that hook to curl area, but Josh is staring to the top of the screen, right? He's looking up to Beasley. When Beasley has a safety drop, I think that was a safety that dropped down, and Edmonds, and it's a good disguise because they make it almost look like it's man coverage to the top, but Josh stares him down. gets pressured from the top of the screen. And this is something that, again, you guys have to pay attention to when we get into talking about the pass protection. So you're going to see Cam Hayward get one-on-one with Bakker here and really just drive him back into Josh Allen. But you also see, a nice rush from the rookie Highsmith off the right side of the screen. Does a little
good rush.
Really, he does a ghost rush. So he shows that long arm, and you see Dawkins kind of raises his hands. He ducks right under his hands. So a good rush off the left side of the offensive line there. But it's because you see Morse, Feliciano, and Williams sliding to their right side to help with Watt. And that gives these two guys one-on-one. So that's kind of the issue the Bills ran into in that early portion of the game. And then Josh tries escaping, obviously, from his left, rightfully so, but he's running right into TJ Watt, and the ball is deflected there, Nate.
Yeah, I mean, that is a power rep. That is a Pro Bowl, all-pro level rep from Cam Hayward on this play. Ike Bakker has been pretty darn good since coming into the lineup. But there ain't a damn thing he's doing this season. He better hit the weight room next time they play Pittsburgh, because that is a man rep from Cam Hayward. There's just not a lot you can do. And these are the types of one-on-one battles we saw early in this game that really led to a lot of the a lot of the issues that the offense was having. But you're right. I mean, it just becomes it becomes a little bit nitpicky when we start to talk about, well, there's pressure in the face. Yeah, Diggs ends up uncovering in one of the zones, but with Watt right there in his face, he sees him and he wants him. But I just think by the time he actually ends up seeing him outside the pocket, you're one-on-one with TJ Watt. He makes a great play. I mean, it's just 2 Pro Bowl plays by 2 Pro Bowl players and one guy that's probably going to be the defensive player of the year. So, check mark to the defense, move on to the next possession.
So as you saw there, again, empty, it's something that the Bills wanted to use early on in this game, but there's no way you can really account for both TJ Watt and Cam Hayward. So on to the next play. 1st and 10 situation. We're in the second quarter now. Bills again go to empty, right, Nate? And I mean, it's tough. We always talk about week to week, what are the safeties doing? You only see one safety right here. So, Josh is trying to get a read of that. The other safety is to the top of the screen. And I just thought Josh made a bad decision here. He's a little hesitant. Again, you got the option route right here. Throw it. Why aren't you throwing that curl right there? It's a 0, the one-step drop. Get rid of it. Throw that right there. It's first down. Get the ball to your playmaker right there. If you don't want him, go ahead, throw it out wide. I don't care. But the ball should be going right there, especially because of the leverage of that safety. That safety on the snap ends up dropping just a little bit. You see this guy buzz to the flats because of the cover 3 look, and you have your hook to curl area right there. So I just want Josh to throw it. He doesn't. He escapes to the top of the screen, and this is where he's going to try to throw it back across his body to the middle of the field to Dawson Knox. And, I mean, he almost catches it. I will say from the broadcast angle, it looks like he almost catches it, but it's something we saw a couple times in this game. I just don't like his decision-making. I don't like him not taking what the defense is giving him to Cole Beasley in the slot there. And it's a one-step drop. I want him to just get rid of it. I want him to throw it right there. And the reason he kind of escapes the pocket here, looks to at least, it's a 4-man rush. He sees this guy kind of take an inside move. And this is something I saw with Josh in college, is where if he sees that edge open up because of an inside move, he's going to try to escape the pocket when really he could just throw this with a little anticipation and get the yardage to Beasley off here on the right-hand side. Instead, he goes, again, escapes the pocket at full speed. Now he's looking to Knox, which looks nice from this angle, right? But again, you're running all the way at full speed to your right and throwing back towards the middle of the field. Just it's a dicey play that you don't want your quarterback making.
Take what the defense gives you. I think you said it well. And on this play, this looked like 2018, Josh. This looked like quick bail, get out to my right. Let's get out of structure and let's just go try to make a play and throw across my body. Doop, 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 doop. Yeah. That's like this. That's what it starts to look like on this play. Like you're totally right on that inside pressure. And what he has to realize in the NFL is those stunts are designed to make a person like Josh Allen think, oh, the edge is opened up, and then boom, you've got a defender right there who's looping around from the inside. He doesn't on this play, but that's the kind of thing that you're going to end up seeing, and they get away with a hold on this play. It looked like a little bit there on the interior player, but I agree. I mean, Dawson Knox looks fantastic once you break the pocket and break contain. The problem is there isn't a quarterback in the land that's making this throw across their body at the logo from outside the numbers with all of your momentum going towards the sidelines. This is not a throw Patrick Mahomes can make. This is an impossible throw. So sometimes he has to understand that, and listen, I'm not lecturing because Josh does this more times than not. This is, again, I maybe want to point out, this felt a lot like 2018 Josh. So there's no real need to lecture other than to say, do what you've been doing all season long, which is take those layups, take the easy completion in a game where you struggled so early on to find those easy completions. We talked about this last week. After our film breakdown, we were talking about this matchup, saying you're not going to get a ton of free looks. You're not going to get a lot of dropped coverages by Pittsburgh like you did against San Francisco, where they're going to give you freebies. That's not going to happen a ton against Pittsburgh. And a play like this is as close to a freebie as you're going to get from the top-ranked defense. You got to take them when they give them to you. And those are the sorts of plays that can ignite Josh, that get him going a little bit, that create that spark for him and that confidence. Sometimes it's just like a basketball player. You got to see the ball go through the hoop. And early on in this game, as he's struggling, he's 4 of 10, he's 2 of 9. Yeah. And like he was struggling a little bit, and these types of completions you tend to take for granted over the course of a game until you're searching for it, until you're desperate for a completion. Take them when they present themselves.
Yeah, and I think again, this plays in the second quarter. Obviously, you can see Feliciano's in there, Brian Winters is in there. So there were some changes because of Morse's injury. I think it was like his elbow; he's kind of banged up, but. My thing is, in the first quarter, it was almost kind of like Bill Belichick, and what he liked to do to young quarterbacks is he kind of heats them up in the first quarter, and then it gets them, to speed up their clock and kind of get them antsy, start this attempt to make them see ghosts. And then he'll drop out like this and just rush 4 guys and then get quarterbacks to kind of want to escape the pocket. And I mean, this cuts down half the field, maybe a little more than half the field with Josh Allen's arm. But nonetheless, take what the defense is giving you, especially early in the game, especially when you're struggling. Don't make these kind of throws early and often, because more times than not in the NFL is going to lead to a negative play. So now we're on into the second quarter, 4:14 on the clock, 3rd-and-3 situation. Ball on the 33-yard line. Bills are down 7-0. So the Bills come out in a 2-by-2 set. They're in 11 personnel, and this is it's a great job by the defense. They disguise the slot blitz. It's something that we've seen. Oh my God, pretty much 3/4 of the season. They're sending guys off the slot, especially from the field up top there. But you can see this safety is kind of capping, is what we call capping the nickel there, making it look like that nickel is going to blitz. But really, it's just a normal cover 1 type look where that safety is dropping to the middle. But I want you guys to pay attention to, because it's something we talk about when we talk about the Bills defense, is disguising coverages, right? To the top, it looks like man coverage. To the bottom, it looks like man coverage, but it looks like Minka is on the tight end here, right? But watch what happens as the ball snapped here. Those 2 guys switch.
Yeah.
These 2 guys right here switch. So you see this guy take Knox in man coverage. Minka's dropping into the rat or robber roll in the middle of the field. So that's something that obviously Josh Allen has to process here. And it's something that he actually handled really well on this play, because this is the play to Stefon Diggs. Watch how he reads that, and you'll see it better from the end zone angle. Here comes Diggs in a short in-breaking route. This throw has to be on time. This processing has to be on point. And he hits him, and Minka doesn't wrap him up. And now, guess what? We're swinging field position. We're swinging into an explosive play. I just thought the job by Josh Allen here post-snap. Watch how he finds Minka. He's looking right at these 2 guys right here that are switching roles. He finds them and then just finds his man on the in-breaking route in the hole, and then Diggs does the rest. And it's something that he did from here on out the rest of the game, right, Nate?
This was a big tide turner for the offense. It was the shot the arm they really needed. And for me, it's not surprising that Stefon Diggs is the player that sort of, lights the spark for your team. But good on Josh Allen for identifying. You're right. I mean, that is a nice little tricky post-snap caveat that, if you aren't comfortable pre-snap, imagine, and this is a good example of just how hard it can be in the NFL to play and how defenses can disguise and try to trick the quarterback. Imagine being, Justin Herbert or Tua Tagovailoa playing in their 7th or 8th football game and seeing these types of coverages being thrown at you. And I love Nick Saban. He's not running a lot of these in-depth type concepts, especially with the defensive backs. You just don't get them long enough to coach them up, to have the communication ability and the feel of the game at this level to be able to pull and maneuver that. And I mean, this is the top ranked defense. They're not top ranked just because they have studs. They're top ranked because they run a lot of complex coverages that can confuse passers. It's why they're so good against the pass. And in this game early on, I a couple of times, I never felt early on, Erik, that it was like the coverage swaps or the disguising was getting to Josh. I don't really think that was the issue. I just don't think they were clicking.
I agree.
And this play, and this is, even if you're Josh, like, good job finding the hole, to your point, like using Minkah Fitzpatrick's leverage against him in this play. But this is such an important play for the rest of the game because it sparks the offense, gets them into a nice little stride that they basically carry on for the next 5 or 6 consecutive drives.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And again, this is when Diggs started to turn it on and showed why, it was worth that first round pick. All right, so now we are on in the second quarter, 3:02 on the clock. Again, this is that drive where the Bills made those adjustments, started realizing, started clicking, 2nd and 4 situation on the 38-yard line. You see the Bills kind of shifting the passing strength, and this is that throw from the right hash to outside the numbers to Diggs. And this is a throw that Josh was kind of late on. Again, I talk about the personnel and formation adjustments. You see 12 personnel. It's something that a lot of teams attack the Steelers with. You see those 2 tight ends to the top of the screen, but you have 3 eligibles to the bottom of the screen, to the field. And both of these guys, Diggs and Beasley, are just running out routes at different levels, but they're keeping the tight ends in, they're keeping the running back in. And just look what it does by doing that. By keeping those guys in, look at how many guys are in and around the box and the line of scrimmage. I mean, all these guys there. And then guess what? Now we're one-on-one outside. This was a major adjustment that the Bills saw when they went to more of heavy sets, obviously, relatively speaking, and then just a throw. It's a little late, but Josh has that arm strength, as we talk about all the time, to overcome that. He's making a throw from the 45-yard line outside the numbers to the boundary of the 30-yard line. I mean, this throw is when arm strength matters, Nate.
And it's not a long throw. I mean, it's a 5-yard, 6-yard, 7-yard gain. But it's there's so much to it, right? There's just, it's an in-depth recipe to have the success that he has in that play. And what I love about this, and I think even Collinsworth talked about it live on the broadcast, was in this moment and when they really started to bring the pressure, but the Bills had really sort of brought people in to protect. In years past, I do really think Josh is going to probably bail on a lot of these looks or bring his eyes down. This is where the Bills offense can win moving forward. If teams are going to do that, the Bills are fine. If you're going to put one-on-one on the outside with Cole Beasley and go one high safety, that is a disadvantage for the defense. As long as you can get a couple of blocks, they've got great communication up front. You're seeing that they keep 2 tight ends on in this play and a running back. So this is max protect one-on-one. And you got to love Josh Allen's ability to get rid of this ball late, accurately, on target, and just in time to let Diggs get 2 feet in. And we talk about these sideline throws a lot when he's moving to his right, but this is sort of an equalizer. This is good defense for 98% of the NFL. There's not a lot of guys that can make that throw that late. So it's an impressive throw with a really high level of difficulty at an important time.
Yeah, and I'm glad you say, the coverage, like normally, like look at how it looks a little high, like the pass is a little high, but that's done on purpose. It's only catchable by Diggs. If he's not catching it, it's going out of bounds. There's no way for this corner to undercut that at full speed and get up and elevate enough to intercept that. There's just no way, especially with the velocity from Josh Allen. I just, again, just a specimen. As far as arm talent goes and arm strength goes. And this is when arm strength matters on top of the red zone, as we always talk about.
Doesn't it seem like, Erik, like watching him throw with velocity, sometimes it feels like it doesn't slow down. Like it just kind of is still going the same speed that it came,
right.
Like the exit velocity just as fast when it hits the hands as when it released from his hands. I've just never seen arm strength like on display like that. And I'm sure Big Ben was marveling on the sidelines while he was loosening out his Tommy John, because holy cow, he looked shot.
Oh my goodness. So same drive, right? And again, now this is when they realize, well, if we keep guys in, if we're in 12 personnel, we keep everybody in the block, and at least condense the formations, whether it's personnel or formation, it's opening up outside one-on-one, and we'll take those mismatches all night. And this is when the Bills started to click, man. The defense is playing cover one, and they get a nice deep drop. None of those 0 to 1 step drops anymore. Josh, a little pump fake to the top of the screen, one-on-one coverage to the bottom, and you get a little stop route from Diggs. I mean, this is stealing.
Taking candy from a baby.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And guys, look from the end zone angle. Look at how Josh manipulates. Look where Minkah is. Right, he's playing to the left of the hash here. He's shading over to Diggs, rightfully so. Josh opens up to his right. And a little pump fake, look what that's doing. Now, is it going to be, is it moving him a lot? No, but this is playing a part in his development. Now he's getting his legs, his feet, his eyes all back to the boundary side. And then a throw with a guy closing in on his legs. I mean, and again, another strike from Josh Allen to Diggs.
Yeah, thing of beauty. And what I love about this too is this is not every team can go out, by the way, and send 2 guys out and max protect like this.
Yes, exactly.
This is not something you want to scheme to. This is typically a last resort. This is, we can't protect our quarterback. This is the best we can come up with. So the fact that the Bills are giving themselves looks they want out of this is a really promising sign for the development of the passing offense. Just the levels. We talked about this several times this year. It's just the levels, adding on things. This is a really promising sign. And it's the sort of the X factor, the eliminator, which is Josh Allen. When all things are even, his arm strength can overcome a lot of things. And although I will say they played an awfully soft coverage for the pre-snap look they were bringing at the line of scrimmage. It seemed weird, but at the same time, Josh Redditt did a good job. To your point, I mean, you say it's not a lot, but 5 yards in the NFL is a huge window. So Minkah Fitzpatrick clears the path all the way to the hash mark before he makes his way back, and by then he's in absolutely no position to make this play. And great job from Josh Allen. But I really can appreciate just the fact that they got 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 people at or around the line of scrimmage trying to protect Josh Allen, and it looked like the easiest play they called all day.
Yeah, and let's kind of look at that real quick. You see Lee Smith and Dawson Knox, and now obviously Knox is worried about TJ Watt, and with this linebacker right here, not really rushing. You're going to see Lee Smith kind of help out and kind of guard this interior gap so that Watt can't take an inside move, obviously, on Knox. So the guy that was in coverage on Lee Smith says, well, if you're going to do that, if you're going to block, I'm going to rush. And when he rushes, guess who's there? Zach Moss. Good. So that right side is great. You're having TJ Watt work around the arc, around the pocket. It's a nice wide pocket. So then now if you look at Mitch Morris, watch him find work. So he initially helps out with Feliciano as that guy dives this way. And this guy that was accounting for the running back, he has him in man coverage. As soon as Moss stays in the block, well, guess what? I'm going to insert. And this is why the Steelers are one of the highest rated blitzing teams and pressure teams for that matter, because when they're in man coverage and their safeties or their linebackers are in man coverage and a tight end stays in the block, they insert their rushers. They add on. So this strong safety now, because the running back stays in.
Like the 49ers too, like Richard Sherman, like we saw last week.
We're going to get to that. Yeah, no doubt about it. We're going to get to that. And so now this guy's inserting, but look at Mitch Morris. He finds work, man. He comes across the middle, picks him up, and again, Josh has the time. They were able to get one-on-ones outside by condensing the formation, condensing the personnel, and getting Stefon Diggs one-on-one on a stop route outside for the first down. Just fun stuff, man. I just love it. I just love how they made those adjustments in game, and you saw it. So now we're at the 2-minute warning, 1st and 10 situation. This was, I believe, the miss to Cole Beasley to the bottom of the screen, and it has a lot to do with pressure. There's no doubt about it, man. So the Bills are in an empty set, and they're running a little read route from Cole Beasley at the bottom of the screen. I think Josh read it. I think he read it great. I just think he moved to his left a little too much and didn't anticipate or place the throw all that well. So watch the 2 to the bottom of the screen, Diggs and Beasley, because on the snap, the Steelers play a very similar coverage to the Gabriel Davis touchdown. So you see this guy open his hips to Beasley. You see this guy kind of see Diggs break into the inside. So they both jump the route by Diggs. Awesome. Great decoy. Now we have Beasley one-on-one with a safety, and he should be able to break out and be wide open. But because of the pressure by Cam Hayward, you see Josh kind of fade away, fall away, not transfer his weight, and the ball is misplaced here by Cole Beasley here. You see it better from the end zone angle. It's a nice little twist by the Steelers here. It's a partial slide to the right. So you're going to see Dawkins kick out wide here. Everyone else is kind of sliding to the right here. And Hayward and the edge rusher right there run a little twist. And you see Dawkins escort him inside to Bakker. But as Josh is looking to the left, again, I think he read it perfectly, but he drifts a little too much. He drifts a little too much to his left. And I understand why with this guy driving inside on him, but a little too much. He should anticipate it right now. Throw it to his spot. Throw it right to that front pylon. And you have time. You have the arm. You're in the boundary. This is a touchdown if he places it properly.
And it's Micah Fitzpatrick. I mean, he's going to cover ground quickly. So, maybe he's thinking I get an extra step. I throw with a little bit more velocity. But, for me, if this is me right now, I want the ball out right here. Yep. I want to take a whole bunch of velocity off it, and I just want to ease it to the pylon, give Cole Beasley an opportunity to catch it with soft hands, and just put the ball over the pylon and talk about 6 points. But Cam Hayward ruins a lot of plans. But this is one of those plays too that I was talking about when, Josh sees that edge rusher come inside, and you were talking about he has a tendency to break the pocket. Well, this sort of happened on this side. Right. And what I was talking about defense is doing with that looping defender, and we see it with Cam Hayward here, is he sort of moves himself from a pre-snap feel play where he sees an edge rusher coming inside. So naturally he feels like he has the space to maneuver to his left, and he doesn't. And like I said earlier, like the NFL defense this is a trap. This is what they want you to do. And,
exactly.
Even if Deion Dawkins is able to disengage and find his way over, I just don't think there's really any way that Cam Hayward isn't here to make the play. So the easiest way to take Cam Hayward out of this play entirely is he doesn't need to drift to his left. He just needs to remain in sequence, and more importantly, he just has to remain in structure here. He moves a little outside of structure, and it ultimately is a fraction of an inch that you see the miss there.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that when they went to empty sets, which is a great game plan, but it really created issues because they were again sliding to and really trying to secure TJ Watt on the right side here with a chip. You got Darrell Williams right there, but then you're going to see TJ Watt kind of loop inside. Well, now with all that attention and that side of the line kind of, committing to this side on that partial slide, it really opened up things for Cam Hayward. And that's why he ate, early on in this game, and he creates the pressure here, kind of makes Josh throw a bad ball here, and the ball goes incomplete. So the Bills obviously, they get a field goal on that drive. Terrence Johnson picks Ben Roethlisberger off prior to half. Now we're in the third quarter. So those adjustments were made on the offensive side of the ball right on that last drive. And you saw it started clicking until they got really close into the red zone, but those plays were still there. They just weren't executed properly by Josh and the offensive line. So third quarter, Bills are up 9-7, 1st and 10 situation. Ball's on the 32-yard line here. And this is something we talked about, weeks ago when the Bills go to this kind of a stacked look right here with the tight end and running back in the backfield. A lot of times it's to run their play action, but I think it's really helped them out in pass protection. But keep that in mind when we go a few plays down the road. This play, there is actually some decent pressure, but this is when, your alpha receiver started to take over, Nate. This is when Diggs was just throwing guys down the field. I mean, this is just silly, dude.
Hey, do you want me to do my Baldy breakdown? You gotta see it. Holy cow. The guy got tossed.
And you know what? Could it have been called? Yes, but I have to say, we see receivers do this a lot, but watch how quickly he not only transitions from the chop right there. You see that man turn by the corner, and he shoots his near hand. So he tries to jam with that right hand. Watch how quickly Diggs swats it down right there. And then boom. Now he has surface area that he can just throw that guy by. And it happens so quickly that who knows if the ref can even see it. The ref's right here. Can he even see it from that location? Can he even see him push off there? I don't think he can. Now, maybe another guy can. But either way, it happens so quick. And Josh has pressure, but he realizes, with all those guys in the middle of the field, I got one-on-one outside with the safety kind of rotating to the middle of the field, and it's just easy money. He finds a platform and gets it to his playmaker, Nate.
Yeah, I mean, that is just, again, his route running, he's a tactician. There's a plan pre-snap. We talk about that with pass rushers, but it's as equally as important for wide receivers. There's a plan. And when you watch Stefon Diggs, it's like watching an artist out there. And like this play just goes to show you the level. What it reminds me of, Floyd Mayweather. Like, he never looks like he's throwing a haymaker, but man, like when he hits you, you know it. And he's just got a quick boom. Like he takes a shot. You're right about the surface area. He gets his full hand on the chest, moves them across, and it's boy, please, like get out of here, right?
Oh my God,
that was a great play. When I saw that on Baldy this morning, I was like, oh, I know Erik's putting this.
29-yard line. The contact occurs, and the knockout is at like the 19-yard line. He just threw him 10 yards, and again, right in front of the refs. I don't know if that guy has a good view of it, but either way, man, that's separation.
That's got to be a GIF. Like, we got to make a GIF about that, and then like him sliding into center field with what's his name doing the TikTok dance. We'll make that into a TikTok dance.
Oh my goodness, that was just again. This is Diggs taking over. Second and 9 situation. Next play here, and this kind of reminded me, this 3-by-1 set to the field to the top of the screen really reminded me of the strike from Josh Allen to Diggs against the Cardinals, but different play call, different personnel, and really Diggs is in a totally different spot. He's not working from the slot. The slot player is, I believe, Gilliam. So the Bills are in 11 personnel. They have Davis to the bottom of the screen, isolated in a 3-by-1 set, and the Steelers run man coverage, and they're really not hiding it. Aside from this linebacker, when you get from the end zone angle, you watch him. He has his eyes kind of on Gilliam right there, but I mean, it's really not being sold that well because Edmonds is right there. I mean, he's coming down. It's man coverage, man. And you see Diggs just break this dude's ankle again. He's just not ready. It's man coverage. Josh, he's looking at him the whole way, hits Diggs, and then Diggs becomes, basically a running back and gets into the end zone from this play, Nate.
He's gliding. Yeah, this was a really good turning point for the Bills in this game. Obviously, we know the pick six really had a tide turning feel to it. This had we just closed the door. Now let's go to a defensive stop and another touchdown. Let's go lock it. So you had the feeling like this was a really big momentum feel. Right. For the Bills, and the Bills offensively, who had up to this point really been just, shut down and shut out. And I think on a play like this, Stefon Diggs, again, being that spark plug, being that the kind of guy that you can rely on in these situations to make a play for your team in a game that you needed him to make a play in. And man, could you imagine on this play if there was fans in the stadium?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, Diggs was just taking over, man. This is definitely one of those plays where, the stadium would be in an uproar, honestly, man. And it was a play where, again, the Bills kind of came out in that third quarter where they were, obviously gangbusters, but this was a play once the Bills got into the red zone that they took, TJ Watt out of the game. So the line doesn't have to worry about Watt on this play. So what they do is they slide to Cam Hayward, they cover him up, and they have 3-on-3 over here. And Josh obviously has a time. It's a quick drop. I mean, man coverage in the red zone with Stefon Diggs. Like, why are you doing that? That's just asking for trouble, especially when you're not really sending a complex blitz. This guy right here looking at the tight end there really is not fooling anyone, and he inserts as a rusher. It's just a good play from the offense, and this is just your playmaker making people look silly and taking over a game.
Number 1 defense in the league, right?
Yeah. So, okay, we're still in the third quarter, and the Bills are now up 16-7, 1st and 10 situation. Ball on the 43-yard line here. And again, that stack set, the 11 personnel stack set with the tight end and running back to the bottom of the screen here. And I like what the Bills did here because they kind of changed the alignment of the 2 receivers to the top. So they put Beasley outside, and usually that's an alert call for a defense, like watch out for the screen, right? So the Bills kind of show a screen there. I like the formation. I like really how the check releases. And I talked about how the Bills like to run play action off this stack set. And I think this is something they got from Clemson in the offseason. They run that stack set, and it's nice for play action, but it's also nice because it screws up teams that want a pattern match with the running back and tight end here, the 2 and 3 receiver technically, but also it helps when they release so they can check. And again, this is one of those plays like, okay, TJ Watt's down there. I'm going to check release right there. I'm going to get a fake from Moss. And if no one's really showing, and, Knox does help Watt right there. You'll see it from the end zone angle. You'll see these 2 linebackers have to account for those guys. So as Knox, flare controls out wide here, and you have the running back curl it up. Well, guess what? There's a nice window right behind it to Stefon Diggs, and it's just a really nice play design. So they just torched him in man, and now guess what? We're gonna go to zone, and we have everyone accounted for. We have TJ Watt chipped, we have Hayward doubled, and we have a nice window for Stefon Diggs.
Yeah, beautiful conflict that Brian Daboll created there, and that is an understanding of, okay, the defense is going to throw this at us. This is like, you would call a play a cover 3 beater, right? Like, this is those sort of plays where this is the caveat. If you're going to be here and we know your tendency and we know where you're supposed to be, well, then we're going to conflict you and we're going to create our own windows. And this is a schemed window, and I think that's the impressive part of it. Is when you're watching this live in a game, you're like, oh, open receiver, Stefon Diggs. Classic, Josh Allen making a throw and Stefon Diggs getting open. But you realize, and these film breakdowns do a really good job of that, of showing like, hey, there's a lot that goes into a play that looks wide open. Like, this is a schemed up play. As much as Stefon Diggs got to make the catch and Josh Allen's got to make the throw, it's not available unless Brian Daboll schemes it up.
Yeah, this is just, so pretty. I like, this is something we actually broke this play down, similar play in the Jets game, I think the first Jets game of the year, where Knox kind of occupied the flats defender by running this out. And then we saw Diggs run that from that tight alignment, your play that you love on that little play action fake with Diggs runs that speed out from the tight alignment there. So this was a nice variation to that. And obviously a great schemed play by Daboll to find a nice window for Josh. And Josh executes, man. He's so much more composed now that Hayward's blocked up here, that Watt is taken care of. He can stand tall in the pocket. His eyes were to the left side of the field to start. Barely even gets a snap. Gets a snap, has his eyes to the left side of the field, play action, nice window, strike to Diggs. Again, taking over the game in the third quarter.
Really pretty. It's just really, really pretty stuff right there.
So 1st and 10 situation, and still in the third quarter, guys. We have a 3-by-1 set, tight alignment to the bottom of the screen. Lee Smith is in the game, and I love this play because of how Brian Daboll and his staff kind of built a play on top of it later in the game. So we have Diggs to the bottom. We have Jake Kumaro somehow makes an appearance in this game. Very high. It's a high-low read because it's a single high safety look. It's a high-low read where Diggs uncovers over the middle. And I just really like the blocking off of play action here. Everyone is picked up. Look at this drop. It's something, again, they started off with 0 one-step drops. Those quick passes, they weren't working. They run a little play action. They keep some guys in, and they're able to work the ball down the field to Diggs here in the middle of the field. And, you'll see it better from the end zone angle. But I just love this play because generally, guys, when you're running play action versus these single high looks, you see the corner to the bottom of the screen there, and the safety, obviously Minka, is to the top. So when usually you're going to get a crossing route right here by Diggs, and then you're going to get usually a kind of a post or Dino post right there, kind of a Yankee concept. And usually defenses, and the Bills run this all the time, usually defense, what they're going to do, they're going to call a slice by Minka right there, and then a replace from the corner over the top to help defend and leverage that post right there. So usually that's what happens. But the way that Daboll drew this up, and I'm sure the way that Diggs had added nuance to this route, is look how he slow plays it. Look how he slow plays it, kind of 50% running, and then looks like he's going to kind of, jab back out here, but run across the middle. But really, what does he do?
It's just sick.
He just sits. He sits, but then when he sits, and you'll see it better from the end zone angle, there's a guy right in that window. All right, and so all he does is just slide to his left a little bit, and then just uncovers for the first down. And look from the end zone angle, Nate, and talk about the play design. And I talked about the blocking real quick. Again, TJ Watt is in a 2-point stance off the left-hand side of the screen. They have Davis kind of help out there. They have Lee Smith to help out there. And then Hayward is also kind of double team. And then watch Moss block here as the add-on rusher. The linebacker tries to rush the quarterback here. He squares him up, stays with him. And again, Josh.
Oh my gosh, that route is...
It's tough, man. That's tough to defend. It's basically an option route that is really putting the corner and safety in conflict.
I was going to watch it play out real quick. It's just fun to watch this, man. Here's the thing. I watch this play and I think about the nuance that this route has and the slow playing. And how much, I wonder this, Erik, how much, a guy like Cole Beasley rubs off on a Stefon Diggs. Like how much Cole Beasley's abilities have raised the game of Stefon Diggs since coming to Buffalo. I would bet there's just levels of route running nuance I'm seeing in Stefon Diggs that remind me of a guy he probably practices with and is in meetings with every day. And this is just the kind of like savvy, nuanced, really, really high level stuff. Because for me, like you mentioned, and that I was going to kind of interrupt and say, like, that looks like a crosser, and we know this team. And if we know it, and defensive coordinators, safeties are just waiting for it. They're just waiting for the first sign of a crossing route. And your point about Mink coming up and sort of filling that opens up that whole outside of the field. And it's just there's a lot to this. This is another play. There's just a lot to it. This is a very layered, nuanced play, and it all starts by getting protection. I wanted them. I think my tweet at halftime was, okay, quick 3-step game, RPOs. Let's get the ball out of Josh Allen's hand. That's how you combat. That's right. That's how you combat Cam Hayward. And that's why he gets paid millions of dollars, and I got Twitter fingers. That's the difference, right? Yeah. And he's understanding on a play like this that in order for you to truly get this team to back off from blitzing, you got to protect it and you got to make them pay on the back end, because that's where you can really get after blitzing teams, is right behind them in coverage.
Yeah, you're right, man. Watch Hayward get driven by Morris right there. Just widens the pocket. And Flossin, I appreciate it, man. If we're talking about Flossin, I appreciate the contribution, man. Stefon Diggs, this is when he really started flossing, man. So I appreciate the contributions there. And also, Cliff Maley, appreciate it, man. You're always there for us. And obviously here for the Josh Allen breakdowns every week. And Josh really just does a great job here. Stefon Diggs really just uncovers, finds a void for his quarterback. Really QB-friendly play from Stefon Diggs. So we're still in the third quarter here, and it's a 2nd and 8 situation, guys. And this is the touchdown to Gabriel Davis. And if you guys follow us on social media and, obviously guys that break down the game, Orlovsky and whatnot, this is a play really that Josh used a lot at Wyoming. This is a play that he threw a touchdown to last week against the Niners to Gabriel Davis. Same exact play, slightly variation in the route to the top of the screen. So let's take a look at this, Nate. So to the top of the screen, you see the Steelers have a 3-over-2 situation. So those 3 defenders are responsible for the 2 receivers at the top. And then to the bottom, you have obviously 3 eligibles by the Bills, right? So they have 4 defenders responsible for those 3 eligibles. So the defense is in good shape here, believe it or not.
Real good shape. Yep.
Yeah, and Josh is looking to obviously Cole Beasley, and again the nuance to the route. We just saw Diggs undress that coverage. Look at the skip release by Cole Beasley, and why is that important? Because you saw, like on that play he missed earlier to Beasley, here's the leverage by that slot corner, and why is he doing that? Because he's going to take away any type of in-breaking route. Well, who's the outside leverage now? Because he's obviously given up that outside leverage here. Well, his outside leverage is this corner, and that corner has his eyes right on Cole Beasley, guys. And he's kind of squatting there. He's kind of sitting, and he's waiting for really Beasley to declare his route. Is he going to run a curl? Is he going to run inside? Or is he going to break outside? Because if he breaks outside, that guy's probably going to jump it and try to pick it off and take it pick 6. Well, Josh knows that. He's seen this. He's played, and it made this play in college. He throws a little shoulder fake. That gets the guy to pause his feet right there. And then just Davis slowly drives to the back of the end zone. Again, probably the Bills' biggest receiver, a strike from right around the 20-yard line to about 5 yards deep. The velocity is there. The placement is there. The location is great because it's up and over that squatting corner. And then the protection, Nate. I mean, no Watt, no Hayward. Obviously, the shoulder fake from Allen. You see Minka's right here on the hash. He's that guy. So if that corner jumps that route by Beasley as he pivots out here, if this guy jumps that, he has to replace him over the top. And there's just no way for him to get over there with Josh Allen's arm velocity.
Not with that arm. And, those two together, when you have in 2x1 sets or 3x1s, when you have Diggs and you have Cole Beasley standing next to each other, I just have to imagine defensive coordinators are holding their breath. They're biting their fingernails because the level that those two play off of each other is sick.
We talking Davis and Beasley, or are you talking Diggs?
But just in general, Diggs.
Oh, yeah.
But like this play is just a really good example of what he can do to uncover other receivers.
Absolutely.
But when you have two route runners like Diggs and Beasley playing next to each other, oh my God, I just have to imagine like that has to keep guys up at night because he's got whatever he wants on this play. He's got Beasley if he wants him. He probably doesn't score on the play, but he's got him if he wants him. But the honey hole throw is just it's as good as it gets. But like if you're a defender, like does that corner doesn't even realize the ball's going over his head until he's like, oh God, that's the thing too about when the ball comes out of Josh Allen's hand. He comes out with so much velocity. You don't know if he's throwing to the guy at the 10-yard line or 10 yards behind you. It comes out so fast and he's so big and he's so just. This is such a great play to watch because
he looks like he's going to throw it to Beasley, right? I mean, he kind of looks
start to finish. It's Cole Beasley, man. It's just the route is sick. Like he looks like he's just hop, skipping, jumping, just waiting. And by the time he declares what route he's running, Gabe Davis has already passed the face of the defender. They've won. They won. It's just it's a fantastic play.
It's just everything, as you said, the shoulder fake. Look at his feet. I mean, his hips are parallel to the line of scrimmage. It looks like he is going to go to Beasley, but instead, again, the arm strength comes into play here, and the placement, something that obviously he was highly criticized for, comes into play here, and it's a perfectly placed ball on something, again, the Bills ran the prior week, and something that I think Brian Daboll brought with Josh Allen from Wyoming. Man, just such a pretty freaking throw there, man. Just so nice. So as you guys can see, it's kind of a condensed set. And we talked about, Diggs uncovering on that little crossing, that fake crossing route. Well, here's the play they built on top of it. But unfortunately, Josh misses it. So look at the top of the screen, and I'll show the play diagram again. So you're getting that little curl route, and then you're getting that post route. And, I mean, Minkah Fitzpatrick bites on this hook, line, and sinker. This corner doesn't replace deep. You see the slice because, Minkah's like, I'm going to jump this and pick it off. Well, guess what? That just gives Gabe Davis the leverage to the post with no help from the corner to the top of the screen. Unfortunately, Josh is under duress a little bit, but he's not able to get enough arc on the ball, enough touch on the ball. And you'll see it from the end zone angle to really lead Gabriel Davis to a spot. And it's just unfortunate because the play design, the setup was there from earlier. You get a little, and the pressure is because of the hug rush. We talked about it earlier. The guy that is responsible for Lee Smith, you see him kind of add on as Lee is helping TJ Watt. Moss picks up the middle linebacker right here. So that leaves a free rusher in Josh's face. And I still like Josh's process. See the play action fake, he's looking to the right, gets Minkah to really bite on that little route by Diggs, and he reads it, steps up, hitches up, and then throws it as he is hit. But man, just unfortunate because this play was beautiful.
Yeah, he had to rush the process, and I think that forced him to throw way closer to the left hash than I think he wanted to. This is the kind of throw that I think if you're Josh Allen and you get one extra second, I think he's throwing it to the outside of the right hash, and he's not keeping it between the hashes. Right. It's just, honestly, you could have made the case that what this had to feel like it reminded me a little bit of the Foster. Jacksonville. Yeah. You knew it. You knew it. You knew exactly what I was going to say. The Robert Foster touchdown, where lead him to the pylon, to the back pylon, because that guy is not getting there before Gabe Davis is. So he really makes this a very tight throw, which forces Gabriel Davis to sort of get narrow on his route. And that becomes a much more difficult. The degree of difficulty of that catch becomes much harder on the receiver as it is to make that throw accurately from where he is. So if you flatten that route a little bit and you lead Gabe closer to the pylon rather than like the inside of the goalpost, I think you've got 6 points. So
you got a good point.
But he rushed his process. So it wasn't just the throw that he rushed. Like he had a rush making the decision of where the ball was going. If he has one extra second here, I think he understands where he's got to locate this football. He doesn't have enough time to determine where to locate this football before he gets hit. So it's look at Minka Fitzpatrick just throwing his hands up like, yeah, well.
You got me. You got me. And I love that reference to the Robert Foster touchdown. You said, top of the numbers, 40-yard line. I think you're right here. I think, especially if you look at the backside corner, again, look where the backside corner is. It's right at the 40-yard line over here. He's already passed. Gabriel Davis has already passed him. And you can kind of even see him looking out to him to say, hey, where's this guy's leverage? Is he coming with me? Is he replacing over the top? He's not. And by the time he gets his head around, ball's already in the air. And as you said, it's kind of going more vertically instead of flatter across the field outside the, more towards the numbers outside the hash there. And it goes incomplete. But another one of those things is just so close to being a touchdown. Just a really nice play design, though, by Brian Dable and his staff. Oh, that was just so pretty, man. It's just unfortunate that didn't connect there.
The process just got a little outside of his normal speed. You could tell.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So 3rd and 10 situation. And this is, I talked about it going into the game where the rotations by these Steelers. I want you to watch the 2 safeties that I have, kind of highlighted there, circled. Pay attention to those 2 guys because their rotation is just unreal on the snap. So Bills have an empty set again, and it's a quick drop. And watch Josh manipulate the pocket, climb the pocket, and hit McKenzie. And I talk about the rotation. So look what they're selling here. They're selling this safeties, this defensive backs here inside. He's taking Dawson Knox here. And what is Minka doing? He's not taking the tight end. He's slicing inside here as McKenzie runs that short crossing route. And I think what Minka's seeing here is really that screen type play that the Bills like to run on 3rd and long. This is 3rd and 10, where they kind of have everyone block and have McKenzie get that short crossing route, that short drag, and then everyone starts to block and he kind of, gets that short pass and runs it here. Watch Minka slice this route, but then watch Josh as he is pressured on the twist inside, and you'll see it better from the end zone angle, climb the pocket, not hit McKenzie in that first window.
Waits for it.
He climbs, and now McKenzie is at full speed and past that slice and hits him for the first down. This was a big play, man. This is 3rd and 10. This was a huge play and really extended their drive. But look at Nate. Talk about the pocket manipulation from Josh Allen and the end zone angle. Because again, he climbs the pocket here. But talk about the mechanics too of keeping 2 hands on the ball here, because it's incredibly important as that twist unfolds. He climbs right here. I'll slow it down for you. Look at the 2 hands, shoulder shrug, secondary window to McKenzie. Just such a nice play from Josh Allen.
Yeah, if he was in, if we got to put this in Gruden's classroom when Josh Allen was doing, before Gruden became a head coach and he was doing those Gruden film rooms, I think part of what he was ripping Josh for a few years back was he did a lot of this where he'd get pretty loose with that football, and he might bring that football up and around the defender's arm. He's done it before. He'll probably do it again. But on this play, you're right. Keeping 2 hands on the ball, making sure that he dips his shoulder underneath, that he stays on platform.
And that's Cam Hayward, bro.
Yeah, I mean, his mechanics allow him to stay on platform and make this throw as soon as he's able to gather himself. And it's super important to your point that he hits this in really the 3rd window, because if you hit this in the 1st window, either McKenzie's getting knocked out, the ball's going up in the air and somebody's going to go make a play on it, or it's going to fall incomplete. So forcing him, and again, you've got Cam Hayward barreling down on you.
Yeah.
This is a really strong play from Allen, who also didn't have a spy on him. He could have maybe taken off too, but this is a nice job getting getting the ball in the hands of his playmakers on a really important 3rd down situation.
No, you're right, man. And I talk about the twist inside, and I just want to throw some props out to Bakker, because while he did struggle for most of this game, it's an aggressive set by him right here. He gets right into Cam Hayward. And it's important because as you see, Mitch Morris kind of overlap, lose a little ground because he sees a twist coming. It allows them to play on separate levels. And so when they do execute the loop right there, now he is stuck to Cam Hayward. He's able to ride him wide of Josh Allen's spot. Josh is able to climb the pocket and release it to McKenzie on that short drag route. And just a huge play from Josh Allen. Hey, Flossin, again, man, I appreciate you, tuning in and watching this breakdown. We love this, man. And this is something we're going to start to do a little more often, go live so that you guys can interact and talk with us and even show us some things that maybe you see on film that we maybe get a little tunnel vision and something else. So fourth quarter now, Bills are up 23-15, 3rd and 5 situation, ball on the 36-yard line. Bills are a 2-by-2 set. And it's a play that, Josh attempts to get Dawson Knox down the field. And he, of course, yes, he drew a flag. Dawson Knox did, but he really misses Beasley here. And again, it's that coverage we talked about earlier. You got the bracketed coverage of Beasley and Diggs. So you see the safety dropping down, taking inside leverage to Diggs on the bottom of the screen, and then inside leverage from Edmonds and outside leverage from the slot corner. And it's really good coverage. It's really a good play. But Josh sees that soft edge again and escapes the pocket. And for some reason, he waves right there. He tells Beasley to get upfield. I don't know why, unless maybe he's telling someone else to do that. But he misses Beasley here. I think he could have just hit him for first down and maybe even a touchdown. Instead, he goes for the long ball to Dawson Knox down the field. And obviously the flag's thrown there. And it's a big play, but it's probably a play that could have been a little easier, right, Nate?
Yeah, no doubt about it. And,
that's Josh Allen, man.
It's a little sugar high, This is him. It's like, all right, well, we got this touchdown down the sidelines if you go straight. So why don't you go straight? No, I agree. He probably should just take what the defense gives him here short on Beasley. But these are the sorts of plays, though, that really personify Allen because he breaks contain of the pocket, and that's what actually opens things up for him on this play. Breaking contain, getting out to his right is what makes the play for him. Now, if you're going to make Beasley go upfield, you better hit him.
Yeah, I don't know.
Throw it to him. Now you're going to go across your body on a really
You can't even see him. You can't even see the guy yet.
The degree of difficulty is ridiculous. Like, this is a 40-yard across your body throw at the goal line on a crossing route that you're trying to hit with anticipation and lead the guy, for God's sakes. If you're going to force Beasley upfield, you're not going to take it. Throw it to him on this play. And I think this is one that Yards Per Pass posted earlier. If you're going to force him upfield, hit him. But, they made out because of the pass interference call.
All right, on to the next play, man. That's funny. Second 11 situation. We are in that stack set again, guys, to the bottom of the screen. So, again, that coverage where you have Diggs and Beasley kind of bracketed here. And you see the safety low again, man. And Josh, man, this is where he wants to go. And I said at the top that this is probably an alert call. If this safety right here is playing low and still trying to bracket Stefon Diggs so that he doesn't get any short in-breaking route, well, guess what? Probably move on the coverage because look at the top of the screen and Josh looks to that side initially. Again, this is Davis, man. He's really wide open on that comeback route to the top of the screen. And we saw Josh hit John Brown on that deep comeback several times this year, but Josh was set on throwing to Diggs here. It's pretty obvious with the little pump fake and then the throw deep. And, Diggs is already by these guys. So I don't mind the throw, but if you have the time and you have the platform, you got to complete it. And he doesn't here. He sails it into the boundary.
Yeah. Stefon Diggs is not a 4-3 guy, but he certainly looks like it on film, doesn't it? Like he's running by good, quick defenders here. But yeah, listen, at this point of the game, I am based on the success that those two have had all game. I don't dislike it at all. I love them throwing in the situation. This is fourth quarter. What did I say at the game? I'm like, the Bills are throwing to put the game away. Like, man, this is awesome. I'll take this. I'll take plays like this any day of the week. You're throwing to salt the game away. But you're right. You got to make the throw, make it throw. Here's the thing too. This reminds me a lot of the other deep shot. He waited too long.
Yes.
If you know you're doing it, do it. Stop waiting for it. That would be my advice to Josh as a person that struggled with his deep ball early on too, was the more you wait, the smaller and smaller and smaller your margin for error becomes. So if he knows he's going to go there, look Fitzpatrick off, keep him to the right side. It doesn't matter anyways, because he's staying there in bracket coverage. Sure. But, on your third step, hitch and throw. Ball's got to be out right there. Yeah. Right. That extra second, that extra hitch, that's 10 yards, maybe 15 onto the throw. You've got to get rid of that ball quicker to give him a chance. And when you hold on to the ball and step up and hold, it becomes difficult and it just becomes a much more difficult throw than it needs to be.
No doubt about it, bro. I agree there. So I believe this is the last play of the breakdown, guys. So Alex Smith appreciate you, contributing here and joining us in the breakdown, man. As everyone else too, man, we're, up 316 followers right now, viewing this breakdown. And this is something that we love to do, obviously. So we appreciate, obviously everyone tuning in. Alex, thanks for chipping in there to help us and making it well worth our while. So I think this is the last play of this breakdown. And it's a play you kind of referenced earlier in the breakdown, Nate. It's a play that we saw kind of last week in the Niners game where Richard Sherman had the tight end in coverage. Tight end looked like he was going to block in Lee Smith. And then, Lee Smith leaks out and he's wide open and everyone's saying, hey, that was a nice throw to Gabriel Davis. Probably one of your top throws as far as touch goes to Gabriel Davis on that dig route. But you had Lee Smith wide open. This is something I told fans to kind of keep in the back pocket and keep on the back burner because Dable schemes this up and you can tell from the end zone angle. So let's take a look at this again. It's kind of that seam read that we've seen a couple times with Beasley kind of coming over the middle there. You have Dawson Knox in the backfield again in the backfield with the running back there, and the Steelers send a blitz, and they're not hiding it. I mean, this guy was capping from the get-go. He's going to have, obviously, Cole Beasley. The safety is in coverage there, and they're just rotating there. It's man coverage. You can see everyone manned up right here, single safety deep. And as Knox, goes to block, he realizes, okay, no one's accounting for me. I'm going to leak out. Josh hits him, and this really kind of sealed the game, in my opinion. I mean, this was third down situation. You get Dawson Knox out in space, and that's really when he's at his best. And so let's take a look at it from the end zone angle, Nate, because this is really important. So for most of the game, the strong safety was brought in, which is, I think, number 27 right here. He was usually brought in to cover the running back. And I believe the player right here, this defender smugging this A-gap, is actually responsible for Dawson Knox here, because you see these are all defensive linemen, as is Cam Hayward right there. I think that guy is actually responsible for Knox. And you see him on the snap, he kind of looks over to Knox like, is he blocking? And if he is, I want to rush. So as Knox comes out here, and
he looks like he's blocking.
He looks like he's blocking. And so I think that defender in the A-gap kind of loses sight of him. And, kind of Moss steps up right there. And that's, wide open. Watch Josh's eyes, watch his helmet, just finds that outlet. And he could probably have hit Beasley here. This is why I think this was actually planned, or at the very least, after what happened last week. And this actually happened in the Steelers game last year, Nate, where Lee Smith was left wide open on the backside of a formation off a play action pass, and Josh didn't hit him. This happened in
a different player this time.
A little different player, and so he leaks out, and Josh hits him immediately. Again, the check down, the outlet immediately, and the Bills convert.
Yeah, this might have been Dawson Knox's best game. I thought he was available. He's been slowly progressing along the last couple of weeks. He was in the doghouse though, Dawson Knox. This is a really important player though. You're right. Third down and long. You desperately need this first down so you could salt this game away. And you could see Diggs pissed off at the bottom of the screen, thought he got interfered with. Yeah. Looked back hard at the referee here. This is funny. Yeah, he did get interfered. He got held. It probably should have been called in the backside, but
it was a nice throw by him too, though. That's still a nice move. It's kind of like what we saw earlier, but
yeah, he didn't send him like he was like he was in Mortal Kombat. But yeah, no, that was a great read by Allen, getting rid of the ball quickly. There's a small margin of error here. You got to get rid of the ball quickly, because there is that free rusher, and your observation is really good here too, because it looks like Dawson Knox is staying in the block. And that's, to your point earlier, too, another point that you made about having this tight end in this position, like he's an H-back, pseudo fullback tight end. Yeah. It really can get you an advantageous looks, like it did right here in a really key situation, because he kind of gets lost. He kind of gets lost in there. And that's exactly the guy, I'm telling you right now. That's what I want Dawson Knox doing. I think that's a perfect position for him. I don't know if I love him as a traditional inline tight end. When you put him in these types of situations, these are winning situations you're putting Dawson Knox in. They can maximize his athleticism, his ability to block, but more so it disguises ways, it schemes up ways for him to get open against defenses that are going to run the types of coverages we saw from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and great question here. Someone asked about What is a hug rush? And Erik, he nails it here. So real quick, maybe I said it a couple times this game. As I have the two guys I have circled, say they have these two guys in coverage right here, right? So they're in man coverage. When say they're running back, what's the block? Step up and block, right? Well, guess what? That means the guy that has him in coverage can blitz. That is a green dog blitz. That's what you see it all and hear it all the time. That's a green dog blitz. When I say hug rush, it means usually it's a linebacker or safety that has a tight end in man coverage. And when that tight end, again, he helps chip TJ Watt there and they even pick up the slot corner. He makes it look like he's going to block. So if he's going to block, this guy usually gets the green light to rush the quarterback. So that's the difference between what I call a green dog blitz versus a hug rush. So that guy's able to add on as a rusher. They call it add on or insert rusher because, and as I said at the top, Nate, this is something the Steelers do a lot of because, and that's why they are, so high, number one in blitzing as a team. They run a lot of these. And we saw, if you guys remember, we saw Jordan Poyer actually do it in this game too. He was coming from depth and, he was inserting as a rusher. And basically saw that the screen was developing to the tight end, and he blew that play up. So great breakdown, man. That was the last play of the breakdown. So I want to talk about, obviously, the adjustments, man. The in-game adjustments were great. But then, again, building blocks. There were certain games where the Bills ran the ball really well. And talk about running the ball late into the playoffs when the weather's starting to turn. They're going to need that run game. And, dude, a 7-minute drive to finish the game.
Insane. But, Erik, yes, they were running the ball when the defense knew it, but they also were sprinkling in passes. They were aggressively playing a field position game. They knew what they wanted to do offensively. And here's the thing. They are such a more confident offensive unit from a coaching and from an execution standpoint than they were in week 6, in week 5. There's so much more consistency. This team is peaking. That's why I'm okay if Colin Cowherd wants to say the Bills are the best team this week right now. I don't think that's wrong. I don't think they're the best team overall over the course of the year, but I think this week right now, I think they might be one of the best teams in the league. And I think Josh Allen might be playing some of the best football of the season during this run. But collaboratively, this team in general is peaking at the time that Super Bowl winning teams peak at. And I think that's a really important aspect to what they're doing and how they're doing it. But they're coaching with confidence. They believe in the scheme. They believe in the process. I think most importantly, it just everything oozes down. The competency oozes down from Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott, and it just goes throughout the rest of the roster. And I know it's cliche and it's super lame the way that they put it, but when you come to Buffalo, you really are the best version of yourself. They're proving that by guys like Stefon Diggs that are coming in here and having career years. When people laughed, people thought that he'd be out of here in a year, 2 years. He's going to Albatross. He's going, he's going someplace where every receiver has ever gone to die. And I think it's so great that he is not only thriving, he is leading the league in receptions. He is, I think, if we're going to talk about the Bills as the best team in the league right now, find me a receiver playing better than Stefon Diggs right now, this week, at this point in his career. I don't think you'll find one.
No, and you know what? John Brown's coming off IR. I don't know how much he's going to practice. I don't know how much he's going to play. But we saw how certain, the Steelers specifically bracketed Beasley and Diggs on those crucial downs. And, Allen, I don't want to say he doesn't trust Davis because I think he does. But I think he trusts John Brown a lot more. I think he trusts that John Brown can separate.
Gabe had a couple of tough drops in this game early on.
That's the thing. And early on, exactly. And it's something that if you look at, again, the drop percentage for the wide receiver group, Gabriel Davis is the worst at 12.5%. So he has dropped a few. I think it's 4 total. But when you throw it to the sample that he's gotten, the targets he's gotten, it's the highest drop percentage. Right. And so I just think maybe Josh isn't quite there as far as trust goes, specifically because of that speed. Josh is a guy that likes to have a guy that can separate for him with speed. And we saw one of the drops to Gabriel Davis was a dig route across the middle where Josh was just a half a click late on the throw. He hitched up a couple, one extra hitch he didn't need, and it was a half a click late. And Gabriel Davis had tight coverage and he dropped it. And it was a rifle. I mean, it was a tough throw, a hard throw, but I think he just trusts at this point John Brown more. So all that talk about getting rid of John, dude. And
I'm
so,
looking forward to it.
yeah, so I mean, it was a great breakdown. There are some things that obviously we loved from Josh Allen and Brian Dable and the Bills staff, but I think they all put it together in this game, and we saw the highs and lows that you're going to see in a typical game, especially in a playoff game, man. Playoff game, you're going to have those punches and counter punches, and I think that early on the Bills offense took a lot of punches and really self-inflicted punches, really, and they were able to bounce back. So that's great to see, especially Josh Allen, man, because he looked rough to start, and he bounced back in that second quarter and he leaned on his boy, Stefon Diggs. So, Nate, where can everyone find you on social media? What do you have going on this week at WGR?
So I've got a pretty cool piece coming out tomorrow, a little long form action, not quite Ty Dunn long form, but I got a good piece coming out WGR 552 tomorrow that you can check out. It'll be up probably sometime in the morning. And then you can find me on Twitter at Nate Geary Sports. I got to ask you before I get off the podcast, though, it feels like 13-3, doesn't it?
It's lining up that way, dude. It's lining up that way.
Listen, if there are two people on this God-loving earth that deserve to break down some good football, it is you and me, my friend, because you and me, we have broken down Nathan Peterman.
Oh my God.
We both tried to tell you. Listen, I remember sitting in a living room doing a live podcast with you.
That was our first one, right?
One of our first ones. We were both trying to sell each other so hard that Nathan Peterman was going to just at least be certain. Yeah. We were selling you. We were both snake oil salesmen to each other. Sure. We've come a long way. So it's really fun to watch this team progress from when we first started doing this to where they are now. And listen, people my age, people your age, we have not known a lot of success. It's much like Browns fans, people in their young 30s have not known a winner. And this is really fun. And it feels way different than it did last year. Last year was a little taste, I hope. But it feels like last year was a taste, and this feels like the real thing.
No doubt about it, man. You're right, man. We've definitely earned some good football, and hopefully they can sustain the success and make a long run this season and for a future season, because you know what? This is fun. Breaking down these games and wins is fun. Having the talent and the sustainability with this team has been fun this year, and we appreciate everyone tuning in again. Hey, half an hour, at 9 o'clock Eastern, we're gonna have the Hoof podcast going live. We're gonna have Anthony, Erik, Sterling. If you guys haven't tuned into this podcast, you need to. It's great. It's on our YouTube channel. It starts in a half an hour. Super entertaining. Some topics thrown at each other. It gets a little hyped. You have some homerisms going on in there with Anthony in his Bills suit, but he does drop some heat, man. There's some great entertainment and some characters. And obviously we have podcasts and video breakdowns dropping every day at cover1.net and on our YouTube channel. So this has been a great breakdown. Big win for the Bills on the big stage. I'm your host, Erik Turner. That's Nate Geary. Till next week. We'll see you later.